I have made it back to Antigua after an amazing time at Lake Atitlan. If you don't want to miss the video that will be going up after this one about my time there, then definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on it. I am back at the incredible Flore hostel. I looked at the other ones, but to be fair, this is still the best option. And the service, once again, is amazing because tomorrow I am climbing the volcano. And although this is the highlight of most people's trip, it is what I've been what I've been dreading the most for like the past 2 months. It scares the shit out of me. And the girl at the reception was like, "What time are you leaving? I can make sure that you can take your breakfast with you." Which obviously, with the incredible breakfast that they have here, I'm really happy about. I decided to go with Soy Tours because they are one of the cheapest options and also one that I was recommended. They have a camp that looks out on the sunset and also a camp that is covered, so you do sleep in a tent, but there is a proper structure covering it. And also the winter clothes, or like clothes to protect you against the cold, because it does get really cold up at the top or at the base camp where you will be sleeping, and all the equipment is included in the price, whereas in other places you still need to rent it on top of the price. Lately people haven't been seeing lava at the volcano because there has been a big eruption, and apparently it takes a while for there to be lava again after that. Let's hope that 2 weeks is enough time for there to be lava again. I was picked up at my hostel the next morning and taken to the Soy Tours office at the start of the trail. Here we picked up the equipment, which they took note of. I also decided to pay extra for a stick and a porter. We are ready to start the hike. I have also contracted a porter to carry my bag so that I don't have to do that, and it also helps out a local family. We got a jacket right there, and you can also get a backpack if you need it, but I don't think I will. Everything seems to be fitting in here, even though the jacket is huge. You need to carry your own lunch as well, but all the other food will be at the campsite. If you're expecting the difficulty to build up, well, don't. We walked uphill through the fields for half an hour before our first break, and already arriving in the clouds. The incline is pretty tough right away. After another 30 minutes, we reached the entrance of the park, where we had to fill in this form before continuing. We have been hiking for more than an hour already, which has been going pretty well, and we've just made it to the entrance. After the entrance, we walked through beautiful cloud forest full of birds. It was nice because it was a lot fresher here. After another hour of hiking, we made it to our lunch break. I was too excited to eat, so I forgot to film my yummy chicken with rice and beans. When we continued the hike, the landscape changed again. This time, we walked through pine forest above the clouds. I loved the little flowers and the views while we took breaks every 30 minutes. Although the clouds did obstruct the view of the landscape beneath the volcano. For the last half an hour, there was little to no vegetation left on the volcano. This last part of the path also became a lot less steep, which was welcome at this point. After a total of 3.5 hours actively walking, so not counting the breaks, over 8 kilometers, we made it to base camp at 3,756 meters above sea level. More clouds rolled in, and we were lucky to catch a glimpse of the Fuego volcano that we came here for before it started to rain. We made it to base camp, and this is where we will be staying tonight. So everyone has these little tents. Very little. I am sharing with someone that I didn't know before, a Danish girl. We do have sleeping bags. Let's see. And a teeny tiny pillow. So yeah, I've also put on all the different layers that they've given me before starting. So they gave us pants, socks, a big coat, and they also gave us gloves, a hat, and a scarf, which I haven't put on yet. I also haven't put on my own sweater that I have with me, just in case it gets even colder tonight and I do need an extra layer. I specifically looked for a camping place that had like covers over the tents, just so that they are away or out of the wind, because it can get up to 0 degrees Celsius here. There is a campfire outside, but it's really hurting everyone's eyes for now. Hopefully once the wood has been burnt a bit and it's more coals, it'll be better, and we should get some marshmallows and have a lovely campfire tonight. Some of the others have now gone off to do the Fuego hike, which is another 4 hours, 2 to get there and 2 back. And they basically walk on the rim, or like the edge that leads up to Fuego. But with this weather, it was raining as well earlier, and I think if I get rained on, it'll be so much harder to keep myself warm during the night. It is a very cloudy day, and we're hoping that things will clear up, especially for the sunrise tomorrow, and hopefully also to see some lava tonight. You basically need to wait until it's dark to see it glow. By the way, once I get back to Antigua, I will show you exactly what I brought and what I recommend you to bring. Also, you know, I was dreading this for like the past 2 months, like my entire trip. I was looking forward to this just being done and over. I knew I could not do it because I would have regretted that a lot. But it was so much easier than I expected. Yes, it's a pretty tough climb. Yes, the ground that you walk on isn't very accommodating. I mean, it's very well maintained, and you do have some steps along the way, but it was not as hard as everyone made it seem. I was in the like first 10 people, even though I'm not a hiker, and my fitness level, I guess, is better than I expected. Maybe my breathing technique has become a lot better because of the diving. I don't know. It wasn't as bad as everyone made it seem. I think I could have even done the Fuego hike. I did pay someone to carry my bag, as I said, and he was great. He was constantly telling me like, okay, like now we're walking for this many minutes and then there's a break. This is what we will be passing through, and like he was really, really sweet. And yeah, so far so good. Now let's hope for some lava. And if you can, get the stick. It's only 5 quetzales, which is less than $1, and I thought it would mainly be useful to go down, just to like hold yourself back, but it's been so useful to actually like pull yourself up or like push yourself onto the next step. I highly recommend just getting the stick. After chatting to you guys, I went off and explored around the campground a bit more. I really liked the location of the campsite in correlation to the Fuego volcano, because once the clouds cleared up a bit, we did have a good view. It looked like the people who set off on the Fuego hike might actually get to enjoy these views. I joined everyone around the fire, including the dogs that had walked all the way up with us. We were lucky that we didn't have to wait for the others to come back to have dinner. We got some noodles, mashed potatoes, beans, and some crispy tortillas. We also got some crisps, and as a dessert, we had hot chocolate to warm up with some marshmallows. I did burn my tongue on this. As we finished up dinner, it started pouring it down, as the Fuego hike still had 3 hours to go, because the rain made it much more difficult to get back. They made it back completely soaked to the bone between 9 and 10 p.m. when they had their dinner. Man, I was happy that I didn't go along and was in bed by 8. I woke up at 11 p.m. when the sky had cleared, and I was so happy to see this. No lava flowing, but the smoke did light up from the lava. They woke us up at 4 a.m., but we didn't leave camp until 4:30. This annoyed me because it meant that we had to hurry to the top and couldn't enjoy this beautifulness. Getting up was so much harder than I expected. It might have been the altitude, but it was an awful struggle, and we even lost the first part of the group not knowing where to go. It was such a frustrating experience. Once at the top, the wind was so strong that I thought it would blow me away. It actually like blew my stick to the side. That's how strong the wind was. I still had to walk all along the rim to see the sunrise, and eventually I did make it just in time to see the sun pop above the clouds, but I'm not sure it was worth the torture. Going down again was also super slippery, but eventually we got back at 6:30 for breakfast. We enjoyed our breakfast, which they actually walked up here. We took in the view one last time as I got all the doggy cuddles I could get before the descent. We started the way back at 7:30 and it was absolute torture. I was the last one back while everyone was celebrating with a beer. So I didn't film anything of the way down because I had a stick in each hand, leaving me with actual blisters on my hands. Maybe I should have worn the gloves on the way down as well, but that would have looked a bit ridiculous. The way down was the absolute worst. I was slipping and falling over the entire time. My knees were hurting so much. It seemed to be never ending and I hated every minute of it. If I can give you one piece of advice when doing this hike, it would be to stretch at every single break that you get. I wish someone had told me this, but otherwise the suffering will only continue in the upcoming days. I could barely even walk and stairs became my biggest nightmare. So anytime you can, stretch. Let's have a look at what you will need. I brought this backpack, which is a 40-liter one, I think. They suggest you bring a 45-liter backpack, but this one was enough if I didn't count the giant jacket that I ended up just wrapping around it in the end. Some other things that I brought was a cereal bar, a Snickers, jelly beans, because they say that sugar actually helps against the altitude sickness, and also it gives you the necessary energy to keep climbing. They recommend you to bring 3 to 4 liters of water, which you will have to carry yourself. I went for 1 liter of Gatorade because I thought it'll hydrate me extra, which also helps against the altitude sickness, and since it's some kind of a sports drink, it might also help with my muscles restoring, etc. Aside from the 1 liter of Gatorade, I also brought 2.5 liters of water. Make sure to spread them evenly, like on both sides of the backpack, and alternate drinking from each side so that your backpack or the weight stays balanced. Definitely bring some blister plasters just in case you might need them, a painkiller and an inflammation blocker. It's better if you do not need them or use them, but just in case you don't want to not have them if you need them. And altitude sickness tablets. I did not have these. I know that some people do, but it's up to you if you do want to get those or not. Definitely bring a camera and or a power bank if you want to capture these beautiful moments on your phone and on your camera, because you do not have any plugs once you are at base camp. Some sunscreen is also useful for the start of the hike. At the start, you are hiking in the blazing sun. You also need to bring your own toilet paper, so maybe you can take some from the hostel before leaving in the morning. You might want to bring some headphones to listen to some music or a podcast whilst going up or coming down. That might help distract you. Maybe bring some treats for the dogs, now that you know that probably some dogs will be joining you on the hike. The pillow that we got was very minimal, if not to say like it was just a leather piece of cloth. So if you do want to have some kind of a pillow and you can fit it into your backpack, I personally used my sweater that I wasn't wearing, but yeah, that would definitely help you sleep a bit better. Definitely bring a raincoat and maybe even an extra pair of clothes and shoes if you plan on doing the hike in rainy season, because the people who did the Fuego hike got so rained on that they didn't even do the sunrise hike because their shoes were completely soaking wet, and so was everything else. So I highly recommend preparing for some rain, or just avoiding the rainy season completely, because to be honest, I'm not sure it's even worth it if it's gonna be raining all the time. Some people that did it just after we did couldn't even do the sunrise hike because of the weather. They also tell you to bring a flashlight with extra batteries. You can also hire a little headlamp. I just used my phone because I forgot to hire the lamp. There was just too much going on at the base office, and yeah, so I forgot about that, but I used my phone and it was only really pitch dark for about 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes of the hike, and then it already gradually started getting more light, so I didn't really need it. But it would be useful to have something on your head so that you do have a hand free aside from the stick you're holding. You don't also want to be holding your phone, and then, you know, it's better to have a spare hand. What did I wear? I wore a pair of biker shorts, but I did bring along my thickest pair of pants. I just put it in my backpack for in the evening. I wore this top, which still hasn't recovered. But anyway, it has been cleaned, I swear. I also brought a blouse with long sleeves, just lots of layers. I think that's the main thing, especially for in the evening, just like light layers that you can slowly build up as you are going higher. I started off with my sandals, my Teva sandals, and I'm probably the first ever person to climb that volcano in sandals, but I loved it. I decided to just go with the shoes that are most comfortable for me and the ones that I knew would not give me blisters. Whereas I know that my other ones probably would have, but I put those on once I made it up just to keep my feet warmer, and I also wore them for the way down. So what other options are there aside from walking the entire stretch? Well, you can do the ascent with horses, which would be 600 quetzales extra. So they pretty much take you up all the way to base camp. The rest you'll have to do on your own. You can do the extra hike to Fuego, which is another 200 quetzales, or you can even do it with a 4x4, but that still includes quite of a hike. And that is it. I hope you found this video useful. I definitely wish I knew all of these things before going into it, but oh well. We survived. I'm not sure I would do it again or if I did think it was worth it, but I do know that I would have regretted it had I not just even tried it, right? I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next ones. Bye!